Uh, it says, yeah, it says we've gone live. See me? All right. Okay. All right. I'll talk to you later, Alex. Okay. Hey, guys. How is everyone doing? I just want to make sure that there's people around. So send me a message. Tell me where you're from. Want to see if there are people around. See if I'm actually really live or not. All right, here we go. Alexander Solis La Torre. Am I saying it right? Alexander Solis. Let me tell you, this gentleman, he's done something incredible, creating this worldwide unified Facebook page. So many lives are being blessed. So many lives are blessed. How you all doing? I am here in Rupert, Idaho. I'm about to do a concert, and so perfect timing. I get to do this Facebook presentation with you all right before I do the show. So you can even have the choirs going to come in a minute. Maybe I might introduce you guys to them when they come. So hi from Colville, Utah, where you had the best chicken ever, Laurel. Yes, I did. Yeah. Yosh Bona. Oh my gosh. Listen, Yosh Bona, he is my brother. I just saw him yesterday at a movie premiere and he plays Green Flake. He is a Latter day Saint slave from the 1800s, and it's a true story. And there are some incredible things. You guys go on and check out Green Flake. Go and Google it right now. There's another premiere tonight at the Jordan Common Jordan Common Cinema. I watched it last night. It was incredible. Yehosh, man, great job, brother. We got Carla from Fort Worth, Texas. We got Wendy Schenk Benson. Wendy, how you doing? Such an honor to have you on. So grateful. You guys are just beautiful. Again, check out Green Flake. I'm going to talk about it maybe a little bit later on as well when we have more people on. But there's a movie that you all need to see, and it's called Green Flake, and it's about an LDS, one of the slaves in LDS, early LDS pioneer history, and he was one of the ones that came over to the Salt Lake Valley with Brigham Young. Actually, he came in advance to set up and to sow the soil and everything. And I mean, it's incredible. So you got to check out that story. Anyway, we've got Melanie. How you doing, Melanie? Carlos, man, this is beautiful. I tell you what, social network is just so amazing, guys. I am. I'm gonna start. I'm gonna start with this presentation. Let's just go straight into it. I wish we could have said a prayer, but I'm going to say one in my heart. And everyone, you could say one in your heart for me too at the same time. I would really appreciate that. I love you guys. So let me start. So I'm going to start with a joke, okay? And this is a friend of mine who's a Baptist minister. He told me this joke. So he said, a man called the church office and said that he wanted to speak to the head hog at the trough. The secretary was offended and said, if you mean the pastor of our church, you're going to have to call him the pastor, but you may not call him the head hog at the trough. Then he said, well, that's fine, but I was thinking about making $100,000 donation to the church. The secretary said, oh, hang on, Porky just walked through the door. All right, so I just want to just really start by saying, whoever you are out there, God was not having a bad day when he created you. In fact, it was the total opposite. And a lot of times it's easy to think that we got the short straw, right? We want the good looking one, or we want the one that made all the money, or we want the one that was the healthiest, or we want that. It's so easy to compare and look at other people and just think, I got the short straw in God's creation. God created me with so many flaws. I'm messed up. You know what I mean? And I just want to tell you that that is not the case. And the reason why I say, I remember I had a friend of mine that said, I am so ugly. And I said, good. And I think I offended him. And the reason why I said that is that I said, because he was talking about dating and he said he was ugly. And I'm saying, that's great. You know why? Because just before I came in through the door and I was out on the street, I saw this cute girl with an ugly dude and they were dating. So I'm like, so there's hope for all of us, right? I had a friend of mine that was saying, oh man, I wish that I could just have just insane amounts of money, because I'm just broke and I'm just poor. And I just don't think that God ever wanted me to have money. I don't think I'm supposed to, and I remember just thinking to myself, well, there's another person of your faith that is rolling in money. So I guess what I was saying is that whatever it is that we don't have, somebody else has it. And that has been a really big thing for me. I remember I was reading something by a guy called Mark Cuban from Shark Tank. Remember Shark Tank? And he said something. He said, yeah, a lot of times people say, um, I'm never going to get that. It's not going to happen to me. And he said, and I know this is kind of getting a little bit um, superficial because he was just talking about his money. And he was saying, look, I'm a billionaire. And they said, how did you become a billionaire? He said, look, someone has to become a billionaire. So it might as well be me. And that's been like something that I've always used and I try to instill in my kids when they say, well, I can't do this, I can't accomplish this, or there's only two people that are doing this, there's only a certain group of people that are accomplishing these big feats. And I just try and switch it and say, you know what? Somebody's got to be that. Somebody's got to win. Somebody's got to pass the test. Somebody's got to ace the test. Somebody's going to get their exams, you know what I mean, and pass with flying colors. Somebody's got to do that. So it might as well be you. The law of averages says that not everybody fails. So you might as well be the one that succeeds. And the law of averages also say that not everybody succeeds right away. And I think of that scripture, line upon line, precept upon precept. That's like this little message to me that says, it doesn't matter if you haven't succeeded yet. Line upon line, precept upon precept. It even said that our Savior, that he grew into wisdom, it wasn't overnight, right? From when he was teaching in the temple to when he was 33 years old and officially out proselytizing into the world and creating these miracles. From 12 to 33, he was training, learning, being taught by the Spirit, being taught by his Father, line upon line, precept upon precept. Don't compare yourself to anyone. This ain't a race. I used to do that a lot. I remember I had my uncle say, son, you can be pitiful or you can be powerful, but you cannot be both at the same time. And that always stuck with me. Rain falls on the unjust and the just. I noticed something. This is something that I cannot comprehend, the way the Lord works. He literally lets the sun shine on some of the most cruelest, wickedest, evilest people on the planet. And then he lets the sun shine on you. Equal. He doesn't say, well, if you ain't doing it right, then I'm going to let the sun shine less on you. Well, unless you're in London, because sometimes, you know what I mean, it doesn't always shine and it's always raining. That's where I was born and raised. And so, but I just want to really talk about at this point how nothing in life happens to you, but it happens for you. Nothing in life happens to us, it happens for us. And one of the hardest scriptures at one point in my life was when I was going through a really, really tough time. And I read the 122nd section of Doctrine and Covenants, where it says, the Son of Man have descended below all these things. Art thou greater than he? Like in my moaning and complaining and all the stuff that I felt that, the bad cards that I was dealt. And then it said, these things shall give thee experience and shall be for thy good. And I remember thinking, good? That ain't good. You know what good is? If I pray for a Ferrari and it stands, it just turns up right down the street. That's good. And I started realizing very quickly in my early membership of the church that God's idea of what's good is very, very different from Alex's idea of what is good. I want everything to be amazing. I want everything to be great. I want to have an absolutely perfect, flawless life with no problems, no issues, no worries, no sickness. And then I thought to myself, oh my gosh, if I wanted that, then I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be on this earth if that's what I wanted, because that's not what I chose to accept when I came down here. I remember I had the honor of talking to a member of the 70, named Elder Choi, and I had just some incredible learning experiences just talking to him. And I remember his wife said something really interesting to me. She said that while he was a general authority, he was going through so many trials, tribulations, worries, problems, issues, illness, like all kinds of things. And his wife prayed to Heavenly Father and said, my husband is a general authority. Why are we going through all of this? Why are we going through so many trials? And the Lord, she said, the response that she got was that Heavenly Father said to her, then if you are not expecting any problems, what will he have to talk about? And I've been thinking about that a lot. Have you noticed when you read an autobiography, right? We read these autobiographies and it's people that maybe we want to be like, people that we admire. Could be a singer, could be an entertainer, a dancer, an actor, or like someone that's huge in tech business, or like a Steve Jobs, I don't know, whatever it is, a big, brilliant actor. And what I've noticed is that, have you noticed when you start reading their book, what do they talk about? What do they talk about first? All their failures. They never talk about their successes as much. They talk about all the awful, terrible things that happened to them. And we're reading that, and then we're like, oh, if that happened to him, then there must be hope for me. So if you're going through a hard time, if you're going through struggles, I am too right now. Just because I got a smile on my face doesn't mean everything is perfect. But I want to try my best to submit cheerfully to the will of the Lord. I remember when I was homeless, 16 years old, when I joined the church, a week after I joined the church, I was kicked out of my house because I joined the church. I actually lied. I didn't tell my family that I became a member because, well, let me just go back. My mom, she was the one that raised me. She moved to Nigeria. She was only going for 3 weeks. I didn't see her for 8 years. She had me stay with an uncle of ours who was abusive, always drunk. And we never got along. We never talked. When the sister missionaries knocked on my door at the age of 16, after I was crying out to the Lord through the darkness that I felt I was going through, and asking the Lord to bless me, to change my life, to help me have a decent life, because I was complaining and saying, my life sucks. Everybody else is having a good life, and I have nothing. I'm broke. I got an uncle that doesn't even care about me, doesn't even love me. My mom is in Nigeria. I haven't seen her for 8 years. And my dad, I don't know who he is or where he is. I was moaning, complaining my life. Sister missionaries turned up at my house. They started teaching me the gospel. This is in London. And I remember how awesome that feeling was. It was literally like they brought light into my house. Like physically, spiritually. Like when they walked in, it's just like my whole house lit up. It was the most amazing thing. But I remember after they'd come to visit me a few times, I introduced them to my uncle. I was so excited. I said, uncle, these are these sister missionaries. They're so great, and they're really blessing my life. He didn't even shake their hand. The sisters extended their hand to him with their warm greeting, and he just looked at them, turned away, walked upstairs. Next minute, he came downstairs after they'd left. He said, who are those people that are in my house? Oh, they're the sister missionaries from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. He said, if you ever send those sisters to my house, if they come to my house again, if I see them again, I will kill you. So I started getting scared. I thought to myself, I can't let these sisters come to my house anymore. And I remember I called them up and I lied to them. I said, I can't have you come to my house anymore. I'm not really interested in what you have to say. I was trying to protect them. I didn't realize that they had their own protection, right? I was trying to protect him. I didn't want my uncle to kill him. I was scared. And so I remember I was praying a couple of days after and I was in tears. I said, Heavenly Father, this doesn't make sense. They've come to my house and they bought this light and now you've sent them away. And this is the answer I got. This just peaceful feeling in my heart where the Lord said, I didn't turn them away. You turned them away. I'm like, what am I going to do? My uncle's going to kill him. Don't worry about your uncle. Call them and tell them to come back. So I did. So they started teaching me the gospel in my bedroom, locked doors, whispering. I know. They would teach me the gospel in a whisper. Because my uncle was next door. Sometimes he was high, sometimes he was asleep, sometimes he was awake, but his bedroom was next door. On my room, the sister missionaries were teaching me in my bedroom. And I used to remember, like, they'd say, can you read this scripture? What does it say? And I'd read it back to them in a whisper. Then I remember the time when they asked me to be baptized. They said, Alex, Boye, will you be baptized and become a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints? And I'm like, what? Will you be baptized? And I'm like, yes, yes. I kept my mouth shut. I remember when I joined church, I got baptized. 3 weeks after I joined the church, the sister missionaries moved out. They were both transferred, not just one, both of them. And then the elder that I worked with, who introduced me to the church, he went on a mission. So I felt like I was alone again. But I think that the Lord was trying to help me build my testimony without anybody else. He wanted me to have a direct spiritual relationship with him, not through anybody else. It was hard. It was tough. I remember that. But I just remember just how I felt like I'd started this race as soon as I got baptized. And it was this beautiful race that was the toughest thing ever. A week after I got baptized, joined the church, things started getting worse. I lied to my uncle about being taught the gospel. But I remember one time he asked me to go out and go and buy him some alcohol and some tea and coffee. It's something I used to do every single week. And then every now and then he'd have me go and pick up some other stuff, some hard drugs from people's houses. I remember when I was standing outside the liquor store. 5 years I've been getting him alcohol, all that kind of stuff. It's never been a big deal to me. A week after I got baptized, I was standing in the liquor store and I just had this feeling like, what am I doing here? Like this really bad feeling. These were all my friends. The people at the liquor store, they knew me. In fact, as soon as I walk in, same as usual, they knew exactly what I came to get for my uncle. They all knew me. We're all friends. I even felt safe there. But a week after I was baptized, the first thing I walked through that door at that liquor store, and I just had this feeling, get out. I turn back. I go home. And I'm standing at the front door. My uncle is standing. It's like David and Goliath. He was just huge. Just this mean dude. Never smiled, never happy, unless he was drunk. And I remember he looked down. He said, where's the stuff I asked you to get for me? I says, I can't do this anymore. He says, why? I said, because Everything that you're asking me to get goes against the word of wisdom. And I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and I got baptized last week. And I let it slip. And he looked at me. You joined that church? I said, yeah, yes, I did. But for the first time, I was not scared. I had no fear. The first time he didn't hit me, he went upstairs. I heard some noise upstairs and he came back downstairs. Had my suitcase in his hand. Had my clothes in there. He opened up the front door. He said, get out. And he threw my suitcase out on the street. I remember looking at him like, where am I going to go? I'm 16 years old. He says, I don't care. Maybe those crazy people at your church, maybe they'll help you. But I have no use for you anymore. I remember crying all the way out. I says, please don't do this. He said, get out. And I remember I was walking the streets of London. It's in October with a t-shirt and ripped jeans. Yeah, that's when the fashion goes right out the window, right? Ripped jeans in the middle of October. It was freezing. And I remember I tried to figure out what I was going to do. Should I call my friends? What am I going to do? And I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed to tell anyone I was homeless. That night, I remember I slept on the street. Well, I slept in this white van. While I was in this van, I was crying my eyes out. I said, Heavenly Father, where are you? Why have you left me? Does that sound familiar? Why have you left me? And then I remember saying, you know what? My life was so much better before you came into my life, before you brought those sisters into my life. Why did you bring them? My life was way better now. Now that I've been baptized, my life is worse. Every terrible thing has happened since I joined this weird, crazy church. That's what I said. And I remember I heard this voice again. It was very, very faint. It said, Alex. And I'm looking around. Yes. Are you done complaining? Yes. Will you now hear me speak? Yes. Go and get your scriptures. This is all in love, right? I'm feeling so much love right now. I'm feeling the Spirit. Go and get your scriptures. The one that you threw out the window in anger. So I did. I get out and it was raining. And I picked up my scriptures, my Book of Mormon. I was all wet. And I was drying the pages off and everything, wiping the pages off with the sleeve, like of my shirt and whatever. And then the Lord said, turn to the 122nd section of Doctrine and Covenants. I call those the if chapter. When it's like, if this happens, if the billowing surges gather up, if the very jaws of hell, gape open their mouths to swallow you up. It says, if all these terrible things happen to you, and then right at the end it says, know thou, my son, these things are for experience and they shall be for thy good. And that was when I was just like, good? That ain't good. You know what I mean? Good is when I get a Ferrari. You know what I mean? And that, again, what I said before, that's when I realized that what God sees as being good and what I see as being good is two different things. And I had to learn it real quick. Brothers and sisters, we might not realize it now. We might not see it now. But I remember when, I think it was the conference before last, Elder Holland, one of the last things he says about trials and tribulations blew me away. Where he literally paraphrasing talked about how we want to end up in the same place as Jesus, but we don't want to go through the things that he had to go through to get there. That's a hard pill to swallow. We see all his suffering, the immense suffering for every single person on this planet who's ever lived, who ever will live. and just that immense suffering. And but yet we want a fast pass like Disneyland to be able to just go straight to heaven, no problems, no hassles, no issues, no nothing. Brothers and sisters, that's a hard pill to swallow. But the other thing is that always keeps me going is that joy comes in the morning. This too shall pass. It always does. It doesn't feel like it when you're going through it. It doesn't feel like it when your husband has got cancer. It doesn't feel like it when you've, again, you're going through another debilitating disease. It doesn't feel that way when your son has taken his or her life. It doesn't feel that way, when you've lost your job. Again, it doesn't feel that way when you've been betrayed by your best friend. It doesn't feel that way when your mother has left you. It doesn't feel that way when your father has abused you. It doesn't feel that, right? We keep going. But I want to stand before you today, brothers and sisters, to tell you there is a God. Hold on. Hold out. Joy comes in the morning. It always does. And this too shall pass. Maybe like a kidney stone, but it still passes. I want to share with you guys something in closing. And this is something that I had written to a friend of mine. And I just felt like I wanted to share it with you all. So this was just something that I call, it was my thing that I call the eye of the storm. I don't know if you guys know about the eye of the storm. You talk to a weatherman or a weatherwoman, they'll tell you what the eye of the storm is. It's like right in the middle of the storm, right in the middle is the most peaceful part of this hurricane. And if you are fortunate or unfortunate to be in a hurricane and you look up and you in the eye of the storm, you look up and it's perfectly peaceful. You can look up and you can see the blue sky. It's, you can imagine the tabernacle choir go, right? It's just peaceful. But then the other part has to pass too. You're in the eye of the storm, and then you go past it, then all the terrible stuff again, and then you get out to the other side. But right in the middle, in the eye of the storm, and this way, pure chaos. You see, debris going round and round. You see cars going round. You see cows going moo, moo, right? And you're right in the middle, peaceful as heck. Brothers and sisters, I believe that the eye of the storm is the Book of Mormon. That we can have chaos all around us. But once we sup from the precepts of the Book of Mormon on a daily basis, without fail, we start to receive that peace that surpasses all understanding. So no matter what chaos is going on around you, you can still be in the eye of the storm. That's the power of the Book of Mormon. That's the power of those scriptures. We literally have to read it like we are hungry. When's the last time you were starving? When's the last time you said, I am starving? And your belly starts going. Spiritually, sometimes it's the same way. Our spiritual belly is going, and it's saying, I need the scriptures. But we're trying to find that peace somewhere else. I was told, God, if Jesus isn't the place where we go to get peace, then whatever it is that second that we go to get peace will not last. So I want to share you this. I want to close with this. And it says, last month I turned 50 years old. I know, you can't tell. Black don't crack. Anyway, so I turned 50 last year. But I just wanted to just kind of, I started going through all the things that I've been through in my life and everything that comes back to one thing. So I want to share this quickly with you in closing. So I've lived in London, Nigeria, and Utah. I've been to countries all across this good earth, from Korea to Puerto Rico, Hawaii to Guam, Brazil, and Ghana, and many more. I went to a prestigious boarding school 150 miles outside of London for 7 years, and I did not graduate. I have a metal rod in my spine from a 5-hour operation at the age of 11 from scoliosis. I worked at McDonald's and got into lots of fights there, but I was introduced to the church while I was there. I've grown dreadlocks down to my shoulders. I've dyed my hair blonde. I've experimented with jerry curls. Those who've seen Coming to America, you'll understand. I've shaved my head. I've been homeless. I've eaten food out of trash cans because I was so hungry. I've performed for kings, queens, and prophets. I've been booed off the stage on a TV show watched by 100 million people, where one judge told me that no one would ever pay to see me perform. And the other judge said that I should consider a career change and go into comedy because my performance was a joke. 10 years later, guess where I am? I'm about to perform in this theater. My first gig since COVID. And soon this place is going to be filled. You were wrong. But I'll continue. I've been booed off the stage, watched by 100 million people. I've been so down, I've been so depressed and close to losing hope because of my actions and the actions of other people. And the false belief that God had left me alone and abandoned me. I beat the unbearably mammoth weight of pornography addiction with God's grace and nobody else. I'm helping to raise 8 kids with my fearless companion that I call my wife. I have a 15-seater passenger van, so there's that. I joined the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I've been in a boy band. I'm still active in the entertainment industry. I've created over 200 music videos to the tune of 1 billion views. In 50 years, I have sung for and have been watched by millions on TV. I've performed in nursing homes, fire stations, hospitals, police stations. That was a week after the George Floyd incident. I've performed at homeless shelters, and I've lived in one. I've performed at hospitals for individuals on their deathbed and spent 6 months in one. I became a US citizen on February the 12th, 2012, which incidentally was George Washington's birthday. And I always remember the first picture I ever saw of George Washington. He was on his knees praying. I think God gave me that date for a reason. I didn't start driving until I was 37 years old, people. That's living in Utah. I've sung in the Mormon Tabernacle Choir as a soloist for 8 years, and all through that time, I could not read music. I still can't. I've sung in prisons and spent 3 days in one because I got into a fight in a nightclub with a drunk guy who pushed me down and called me the N-word because I was wearing sunglasses in the club and he didn't like it. So I knocked him out. He pressed charges. I found out his dad was chief of police. And the only thing that saved me that day was when I raised my shirt and I turned around and showed him my scar that starts on the top of my neck to the bottom of my spine. And I told him I had a metal rod in my spine. I was in constant pain at the time. And I said to him, why would I start a fight? Yes, people, they let me go. I was saved by the iron rod. In 50 years, I have failed in so many things, so many times. I've trusted in my own flesh, in me, instead of relying patiently and waiting on God. And that has caused me a lot of pain in the past. I give glory to God for my membership in this church and for every good thing in my life. Jesus, not me, has opened the doors that were supposed to be closed and closed the doors that through my foolishness and my errors should never have been opened. He has fought my battles, healed my wounds, bound up my scars, brought me out of the darkness to my own personal victories. I'm 50 years old and I ain't done yet. This is just the beginning because of whose I am. We are God's people, but we're still full of fear. That's like an oxymoron. But the scripture says that God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of faith. I want to share something with you that has uplifted me all through COVID. I wrote this quote in my garage, in my phone, in my wallet. Heck, I wrote it on my kid's forehead one time so that I can remember it. And I want to share it with you. President Russell M. Nelson, this is during COVID, right at the beginning. He says, these unique challenges will pass in time. I remain optimistic for the future. You didn't hear that MSN or CNN or Fox or whatever, because it's all doom and gloom. So I had to keep going back to what is real. The Lord, through our prophet, said these unique challenges will pass in time. I remain optimistic for the future. Look, tomorrow, this is the 10th of April, tomorrow, or is it the 9th? I can't remember. Utah's ended the mandate of masks. I mean, there are a whole bunch of things that are changing. But I guess my point is, brothers and sisters, in that quote, there is no talk of fear in that comment. And if it's good enough for a prophet of God, it's good enough for me. Amen, people? God lives. He still sits in the throne. Even through this pandemic, he still sits on the throne. He never left. And he never will. Brothers and sisters, I'm starting to come to a realization. I'm a little slow, but 3 prayers a day is not enough anymore. We need to pray all day. There's even a scripture that says, pray always. Pray in our hearts when we're not praying out loud. We cannot let a single day go by without feasting on God's word. That is our balm of Gilead. He lives. And while he lives, I will sing. I know that my Redeemer lives. Jesus lives, brothers and sisters. Through the storm, through the pandemic, he still sits on the throne. He knows and he's aware of everything that we're going through, and he's never left us. No matter how dire our experience is, he has never left us. And the most diabolical trials that we are going through, we will one day sit and stand before the throne of God and kiss the Lord's ankles and say, thank you for those trials, because those trials have brought me to come before you at this time in heaven. Please, brothers and sisters, don't ever see your trials as being something that is coming upon you because you are evil, bad, sinning, not worthy, not a good person. Please don't let your trials make you feel like a lesser person. Because if that was the case, then Jesus would be an absolute 0. Right? If we judged our worth by the trials and the struggles we're going through, then we would be absolute 0. And that is not part of God's plan. That does not make sense. We are here now, and our goal is to make the best of it. I testify to you, brothers and sisters, that the gospel of Jesus Christ is the gospel that redeems, that saves. Remember, they're talking about the restoration. President Nelson talks about how the restoration is not a one-time act. The restoration is still ongoing. Guess what? So are you. You are the restoration. You are still being changed. You are still being rearranged. You are still being blessed. You are still being moved from one place to another. You are still being raised and knocked down and raised and knocked down, having 2 steps forward, 8 steps back, 8 steps back, 5 steps forward. We are every single day we wake up, we are restoration again. We are being restored every day. The restoration is symbolic of us. Remember what the Lord said to Joseph Smith. He's still saying to us. Heavenly Father said to Joseph Smith, this is my beloved son. Hear him. The Lord is still saying that to us today. This is my beloved son. What's the hashtag of our church? Hear him. What? Hear him. This right here is a mask that we've had to use. Who would have thought, right, a year ago, 2 years ago, that our major accessory would be this mask? This moment is coming to a close, and people, just like in World War II, when they had all these trials and tribulations and they never ever thought that they'd get out of it, it's going to happen with us too. Just like President Nelson said, this too shall pass. Isn't it interesting how we are told to cover our mouths up? We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, and we're told to cover it up. I had my African uncle, he said to me, you know why we have to cover our mouth? I said, because of COVID? He said, no. He says, because God is telling us to shut up and listen. I was like, that's deep, uncle, man, that's deep. But I can't help think of the truthfulness of that. COVID has helped me to listen more to my wife, to my kids, to myself, my inner voice. There's been some great blessings that have come from this. Jesus lives. The Book of Mormon is the word of God. Brothers and sisters, he lives. I know my Redeemer lives. May we always dream big and believe and be who our dogs think we are. I pray the Lord's blessings upon each and every single one of you on Worldwide Unified. I pray that you may continue to keep using Worldwide Unified as a resource for you to find peace, to be able to be with hundreds of thousands of people who are also going through trials and struggling in some way, shape, or form that you wouldn't wish upon your enemy. But know when you look at them, when you see that young man or that young woman in a sick bed with tubes coming out, that you will know that one day they will stand before their Savior whole. Rejoice in that knowledge that this too shall pass. I leave these things with you all with so much love in the sacred name of Jesus Christ. Amen.